the bus parks pretty well close to the entrance at Ibrox. You want it as close as possible at times. In fact, you want that bus actually to go straight into the dressing room, so don't have to face the wrath of the crowd. But they still gather there anyway, as does the Rangers manager when he comes to Celtic Park as well too. So it's
absolutely.
It's a lovely feeling to step off the bus, and I remember that particular time when we had won it. There was a break in the league at 33 games, and we'd already won the league, so we go to Ibrox and climb off the bus. You're still expecting all the boos and the jeers, and we got them all right. And I remember just turning around and saying, I thought it was under my breath, but it was loud enough that I said, "Champions like this here." Well, sometimes you regret something. You say, you get dog's abuse. So that 10-yard walk seemed like about 150 miles. Okay. So again, but we got into the stadium, it was fine. You get into the sanctuary of the dressing room, we go out and we performed brilliantly. I think we won by 3 goals. Moravcik scored twice in the game, and we were terrific in the match. But the pressure was off because we had won it.
Yes, Moravcik.
Yeah.
How about him, Lubo Moravcik? Do you remember him, Simon? What a player!
Best 2-footed player I've ever worked with. No question. It's unbelievable ability. Unbelievable ability. Should be talking about him as one of Europe's best, really. Unfortunately, I got him at a stage when I think he was about 35 when I inherited him. I think it was Dr. Venglos brought him into the football club.
Joseph Venglos, yeah.
Brilliant. But Moravcik, a 26 or 27-year-old Moravcik must have been absolutely superb. You want to hear what Zinedine Zidane says about him. It's incredibly complimentary. The lad was a brilliant footballer, could go either way, incredible natural talent, and unfortunately he was the same age as me when I inherited him.
I know what Celtic achieved under your good self, and it was considerable. What do you think of the achievements thus far of Postecoglou?
Terrific, absolutely terrific, really. I mean, there'll be strong favourites to go and get the treble now, and but he has done a marvellous job, and I've been saying this before, and it's worth reiterating. He came in relatively unknown, a stodgy start as well too, signing some players definitely unknown, and you think, is this really going to work? Are they going to be able to catch up? And that's the time when you think, when things have gone against you, that you have to be really strong mentally, and he has definitely got that. And he fought that through, and then around about Christmas time, everything started to change and started to win a lot of games. He's been fantastic for the football club. I mean,
Martin set the place on fire when he was at Celtic, to be quite honest, and it was very difficult for Rangers to achieve anything. Do you think, Simon, looking from distance at it, Postecoglou is so loved by the Celtic support and so backed by the people at Celtic, it's going to be a long time before Rangers even get back into it?
Probably, albeit you can never say anything about football because there's a lack of continuity in most things. Very few people dominate for any period of time. I know Scottish football is rather unique in that situation, but I also think this guy may not be at Celtic for as long as people may anticipate, because there will be lots of people, irrespective of what state Scottish football is in at this moment in time, which is not as compelling as it was during Martin's time, and certainly not as compelling it was in previous times, will lead the Premier League to look at Postecoglou. We've already had this situation where Brighton alluded to the fact they might be looking at him. He shut that door moderately, firmly. But there'll come a point where an Antipodean coming to Scotland to ply his trade, to earn the opportunity to manage a big football club based upon the historic clubs they had managed, will lead him somewhere else. I'm not advocating for that. I'm not suggesting it should be done in a hurry, but I think it's an inevitability. And one of the things that myself and Martin will find a chord on is that the key component of a football team is its football manager. And then when you lose that football manager, lots of things get unwound and lots of things change. They've made a very good appointment. With respect to Neil Lennon, I think it was a mistake to go back to Neil Lennon during that period of time that Brendan Rodgers departed. I think it advanced no one's particular cause.
Yeah.
And they've found, but in that period of time, it gave them cause and pause to think, and they found Postecoglou, who's done a great job. So I think we will see Celtic continue to be very strong. He, of course, is getting the opportunity to get the benefit of the Champions League revenue for another season that Rangers will not get next season. They got it last year because they got to the final of the Europa League. They won't get it this year, so there'll be even wider gaps in margins between the finances available between the two clubs. So you have to lend yourself to the thinking that Celtic will continue to be the dominant voice and force in Scottish football for the foreseeable.
I think what Simon said is I do have a chord with that in that sense. Where I disagree with him is that I think that Neil Lennon was the one person who could continue that success at the time and did do. This is the point. So he stepped into a really difficult situation. Brendan has left to go to Leicester's, left it up in the air in that sense, and Neil Lennon come in with obviously a different approach to the game in that sense, but really was successful. So that's the disagreement. In the end, it probably obviously he lost his job. I think that COVID had a lot to do with that as well too, because I actually believe this. I can't prove it, but I think when nobody coming to the stadiums actually was good news for Rangers in the sense, because they were definitely under pressure to win something, and not so good news for Celtic. Yeah. That's only one of a point. So it's only it's a talking point. I'm not saying I can prove it decisively or anything like this here. But at the end of it all, getting back to the point, in which I totally agree with Simon, I think that Postecoglou's done such a good job that people will be looking at him.
In the 20 odd seconds we've got until we hit the break, I've always wanted to ask you this. When you look back in your time at Celtic, and it was incredible. It was incredible. What a wave you had with them at that time. What's the thing that gives you most satisfaction? When you think of Celtic, what do you think of?
Well, I think obviously the size of the club. I think it's 60,000 people coming to watch to support the club, and I think I just more possibly than anywhere else, I felt that this was a way of life. A way of life. This meant everything to the supporters. Really did. It affected their lives in ways that perhaps maybe other clubs didn't do. That's what I think. I mean, Simon will tell you that the Crystal Palace fans are like they love the football club, absolutely, and there's nothing like that sort of atmosphere down there. So really, really terrific. But really, I felt that at Celtic, that this was a way of life.